This is the video to help you with the home connections called Fraction Action. In this video, I'm going to go through a few of the problems to help you get started, and then it should help you get the rest of your work done as well. If you'll notice in part 1, you've got A through I, and they all have the same number of circles, but they have different fractions that they want you to color in. So you're going to want to notice what the denominator is to help you figure out how much you should color in. I'm going to skip A because I think most of you will have no trouble with that, but let's look at B, which says 1/4. So in order to fill in 1/4, I need to figure out how I can divide this into 4 equal pieces. Right now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 equal pieces that each have 1, 2, 3 in them. So then I'm going to fill in any one of those fourths. Letter C also has fourths, so that one should be pretty easy to figure out. But let's look at letter D. It says 1/6. In order to do this, I'm going to have to figure out how to divide this into sixths. I can see that there are 3 rows, so if I divide it into those 3 rows, I have 3 equal parts, that if I divide those 3 equal parts into halves, now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces, and I'm going to color in one of those sixths, and that creates 1/6. E and F also want you to make sixths, so that should help you with that one. Let's go to letter H. I am now wanting to go into thirds, so if I divide again into those 3 rows, it asks me to do 3 of 3/3. So I need to color in all of the circles to get 3/3. Okay, now you can go back with that information and figure out what the empty ones are as well. Moving on to number 2, it asks us to add the following fractions, and if the sum is greater than 1, write the answer as both an improper fraction and a mixed number. If you'll notice, these fractions do not have common denominators, so I have to figure out how to make a common denominator. In class, we talked about the easiest way to do that is to multiply the denominators by each other. However, on A, I noticed right away that it says 0/3. If I have 0/3, I don't have anything. So to add that up, I would just get 2/8 because it's just the same as adding 0 plus 2/8. Let's look at letter B. I've got 1/4 plus 5/6. So if I multiply 4 times 6 and 1 times 6, I get 6/24. And if I multiply 5 times 4 and 6 times 4, I get 20/24. Then I can add, because I have common denominators, 6 plus 20 is 26/24. Now my directions say that if I have an improper fraction, I need to write it as a mixed number. What that means, if it's an improper fraction, is that the numerator is greater than the denominator, which is what I have here. So I need to figure out how to make that a mixed number. What I'm going to do is see how many more I have than I need. So I've got 24 on the bottom. So 26 minus 24 equals 2. So I end up with 1 because of the 24 that I already have in there, and 2 extras. You could also write it as 1 and 1/12. Okay, same answer. Now you do C and D by following the directions that I just gave you on here. Let's go to the back. I'm going to skip number 3. You can go back to it after we do number 4. It will help you to be able to answer. Number 4 says, Francisco and his mom got some fruit at the fruit stand yesterday. They bought 2.5 pounds of peaches, 7/8 of a pound of raspberries, and 1 1/4 pounds of apricots. How many pounds of fruit did they buy in all? And they want you to make an estimate for your answer. Well, I see there's already 1 and 2, so that's at least 3 pounds. There's a half here and a fourth, so we're almost to 4 pounds. And 7/8, which I know is almost a full pound as well. So I'm going to guess that they got 4.5 pounds. LBS is another way to abbreviate pounds. Now it wants me to find the exact answer. So I have 2 1/2 plus 7/8 plus 1 1/4. I need to find a common denominator of these. I know that if I multiply 2 times 4, I get 8. So I'm going to leave the 7/8 alone. I'm going to multiply 2 times 4 and 1 times 4, which gets me 4/8. So I have 2 4/8 plus 7/8 plus, if I multiply 4 times 2 and 1 times 2, I get 2/8. Now, first I'm going to add my fractions to help me. So I have 4 plus 7, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, plus 2 is 13/8, and I have 2 plus 1 is 3. Now, 13/8 is my improper fraction again, so I'm going to subtract 13 minus 8 is 5. So I have to add the 1 for the improper fraction to my 3. So I get 4, and I move this over to 5/8. 4 5/8 pounds of fruit. I'll also do the challenge together with you today because this one is a little bit tricky. There's a lot of ways to think through it, but I'm going to give you the way I would think of it. It says Camilla had a large collection of basketball cards. She gave half of them to her friend Aaron and 1/6 of them to her brother. She still has 150 cards left. How many cards did she start with? Show all your work. I'm just going to start kind of thinking it through. And I know she still has 150 cards left, and she gave half of them to her friend. So she started with more than 300, more than that. And so I'm going to think about how much more must she have had to be able to still have 150. So she has 150 left, and she gave 1/6 of them to her brother. If she had 300 to start with, she wouldn't be able to give that 1/6 of them away. So I'm going to think about 400. Now, if she had 1/6 of 400, can I figure out that number? How many times does 6 go into 400? 6 goes into 40 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. And then we have 40 again. 6 times 6 is 36. I'm going to end up with 40 again and again and again. That's too hard. So I don't think that that's right. So I'm going to guess a number that's a little bit bigger. I'm going to guess 450. 6 goes into 45 7 times. 7 times 6 is 42. 5 minus 2 is 3. 6 goes into 30 5 times. 5 times 6 is 30. So if she had 450 to start with, and she gave half of them to her friend Aaron, so half of 450 is 225. 10 minus 5 is 5. That became a 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. And 2 minus 2 is 25. And back here we said 1/6 was 75. So if I take away 75, 0, 12, 1, I get 150. So is 450 my correct answer? It is. Now again, I just made a guess at 450. That was a tricky one, which is why I was doing it together with you. I hope this was helpful. Make sure you go back and finish the ones that we didn't do together using the ones we did do together to help you.